Hey everybody, RiceCP coming back to you again, and today I'm going to talk to you about my Day 7 reflections, and exactly how I feel that things are going when we talk about just the leveling process, as well as we talk about what I've experienced so far. So, I guess the first thing that I want to say is I hit 110, as you can see, right here. I hit 110 last night. Currently, I'm sitting in item level 781, which, as far as I can tell, a lot of people are 800 already, so I am subpar. I don't know how into a thing I am with that. But, being that I feel like maybe my gear is a little subpar, some of what I'm going to be talking about necessarily isn't going to pertain 100% to everybody. So if you don't have all of your gear yet, or you have some other things going on, then, who knows? Maybe, it could be that. So, anyway, I was able to play a little bit of Suramar. And Suramar, really, the 110 content that they provide with this game is very eye-opening. And I mean that in a good way, and I also mean that kind of in a concerned way, I guess you could say. Basically, the concern that I have is simply the fact that the content, that the questing that's out here in Suramar, trying to do it as a Mistweaver, it's harder. It's gotten harder. I'm not saying it's not doable, but I'm saying you have to be patient, and it's actually harder than the original questing was coming from the other 4 zones. There is a noticeable change in difficulty. And when I say that, I want to say that the questing areas are rougher. The mobs hit a little harder, it seems. They also take a little bit longer to kill. And, of course, there's less space, and they're kind of packed together. So, a lot of times when you're pulling 1 or 2, you get 3 or 4. Or if you try to pull 1, you get 1 or 3. It's kind of like that. And due to the fact that it makes it harder as a healer, because you've got 3 things attacking you, and you're still trying to control the situation. Not saying that this isn't actually some good test for you to learn, PvP a little bit, although they're not going to really counter any kind of spells that you're casting, but kind of helps survival instincts and things like that. But when you've got 3 things on you, you can only really CC 1 or 2. I mean, if you do go the route of Song of Chi-Ji like I go, you can CC several, but I've noticed the Song of Chi-Ji actually is immune to some things, which is interesting. I'm not sure why some things are immune and some things aren't, but I have noticed that. I don't know if that's a bug or not. So, we've got the questing areas, they're rougher. Definitely packed full of mobs. It's hard to run from place to place to quest giver without pulling aggro on something. But I do have to say, the quest rewards are much, much better. They are basically artifact weapon power. And it's not just the treasures that you find, which, as everybody knows, when we have been running through collecting treasures, most that you usually see is about 50 to 75, and that's a good drop. Some instances give 150 to 200, depending if you find one in an instance. These quest turn-ins are anywhere between 150, and I've had them at 500, I believe. It's either been 300 or 500, but I think I've had a 500 one as well. So, as you notice down here, I didn't think I was going to hit this anytime soon. This is my artifact weapon power right here. I'm almost to my next trait, and I'll be level 14, I believe. Yeah, I'll be level 14 when I hit that next trait. So, I'm excited. I'm not excited to see how much that goes up to the next one. Hopefully it goes up a little bit. It doesn't go up a lot of it. But so far, I haven't done any of the world quests yet. I haven't unlocked those by becoming friendly in the area of Suramar here. But basically, you hit 110, you come here, you quest, and you have to become friendly. And once you become friendly, I guess, then it opens up world quests in the other zones that you used to quest in. And you can go around and do those quests. And when doing those quests, they give you a lot of artifact power reward, or they'll give you gear that is high rated gear, 840 gear, 820. Better gear, obviously, to gear you up. So that's kind of the route that apparently they're going for gearing. You've got instances where you can run heroic or mythic. Those open Tuesday, so they've been open for a day. I have not tried them. I've only healed regular dungeons. I might try to heal a heroic if I can find a group to run with, but I don't think I'm going to queue. I think you actually have to have a group to run a heroic. I don't think you can queue into them. I know mythic you do for sure. But yeah, much better quest rewards. I still feel 100% that I did the right thing by collecting all the treasures in all the areas that I went in. As you can see, only a few rares here and there that I haven't killed. Maybe a treasure here or there that I haven't found yet. Like this guy, couldn't find him. Looked and looked and looked. But I think that I've got probably 98, 99% of the treasures. And I really think that that was a good thing for me, because it put me, before I even hit 100, to the 62, 6840 mark. So now all these other artifact weapon points that are coming in are just going to push me up above and beyond. And I feel that's the smart way to do it. I feel like that's what you should be aiming for. But not everybody might agree. You know, to each their own. But, yeah. So you're questing in the areas. You might as well try to find all the stuff that's laying around, too, to pick up to get extra artifact power and extra this and that. And that brings me to my next thing. A new rotation. I was reading comments, and I got a comment actually on one of my videos, and I necessarily, when I look into the Mistweaver, I know they changed all the things, like you don't get a bonus for your Rising Sun kick anymore, where it used to do the damage with all your other abilities if it was on the target. And Blackout Kick kind of gave you a little bit of buff before, but I really didn't look into a lot of stuff. It was mentioned by Arm and Hammer. If you know who you are, shout out, thank you very much. And I completely overlooked this. The Teachings of the Monastery is a passive trait where Tiger Palm causes your next Blackout Kick to strike up to an additional time, stacking up to 3 times. Blackout Kick has a 15% chance to reset the remaining cooldown of your Rising Sun kick, which is a 10-second cooldown. And I can't believe I overlooked this, and thank you very much, Arm & Hammer, for pointing this out, because when I was talking about priority of rotations that I was using, it was a little off, but it wasn't too much off. So definitely you want to be throwing in your Tiger Palm. You want to weave this definitely into what you're doing, because when you do, it's going to turn out great things for what you're doing, and it's going to bring your DPS up too. So, say, let's go over here, and we'll ride this down, and we're going to pick a fight with a crane. Now, you'll see the little proc in the top right hand corner. You're not going to see it on my screen because of the Victor Sanctum logo, but this is what you get. So you pull, you hot yourself, do a Rising Sun kick. You want to use that always first. Get your 3 Tiger Palms off, and then boom. Did you see that? Did you see what it hit for? It hit 3 times. Here we go again. Boom. 1, 2, 3. So yes, this is huge. This is gonna super increase your DPS. Cannot believe I overlooked this before. This is why you read talents, people. And I, above all people, should probably be reading the talents at all times. I just completely overlooked it. But thank you very much, Arm and Hammer, for pointing that out so I could correct myself. So, you know, just go ahead and try to weave in 3, and as soon as you get 3, hit a Blackout Kick. And then always use your Rising Sun kick when off of cooldown. And I mean, your Tiger Palm, it doesn't do too bad for damage. It does, I think, about 18-20k is what it was doing. Right there, 11k, 15k, 15-7, Blackout Kick. So, I mean, it does a decent amount of damage while you're also trying to weave in everything else. It's not horrible. So there's that. I'm running a new rotation, at least when I DPS. And it has definitely helped, and it is going to help. So keep that in mind, folks. Keep that in mind if you're playing Mistweaver and you're running around and you're questing. Tiger's Palm is your friend. You want Rising Sun Kick, you want to heal yourself, Renewing Mist, or you can use your Thunder Focus Tea and your Enveloping Mist. And then go ahead, throw a Blackout Kick first if you want. You don't have to. Then stack 3 Tiger's Palms. When you get 3, then use your Blackout Kick. That usually not far after that, your Rising Sun Kick will be off of cooldown again. And it's just something that you can sit there and use time and time again. So, new rotation. It's fantastic to know. And it's really good talent that's passive, actually, for Mistweavers, because it helps us do damage, a lot more damage. Helps us kill things faster. Also, I've noticed that healing is noticeably more difficult when I'm out questing and running around and things like that. And I'm not sure if that's 100% due to the fact that I just hit 110 and I have an item level of 781, or if this is just kind of a show of what's to come from Blizzard, because before, I mean, keeping yourself hotted was super simple, and it really, you didn't lose damage. If you lost damage, it wasn't down for long. But now, some of these mobs' abilities and things like that, you have to watch out for the, what are they? They're the lock pets that eat spells. I can't think. Fellhounds. They will eat the hots off of you. They have a Devour Magic ability. And if you throw a hot on, it may turn around the next second and completely eat the hot off, so just be very wary of that. Other than that, there's not too much else going on. I did actually have a couple questions that came on. Somebody asked, Fezd1, or I'm sorry, Fezd1, asked if Blackout Kick hit 3 times in a row in my last video, one of my last videos. And yes, it does. That is the Teachings of the Monastery passive buff of the way that hits. And then R3cruity, it's supposed to be Recruity, obviously. They asked me, what do you use to CC? Well, you have different options that you can use to CC if you look into your talent tier here. And when I do any kind of PvE, I've been doing Song of Chi-Ji. The reason for that is when you go to use Song of Chi-Ji, let me find a crane over here, it affects multiple targets as well. But it sends this very slow moving cloud and it sleeps the targets for 20 seconds. And the big thing about that is it's a 20-second PvE stun. If you have multiple things that are beating on you and you accidentally pull 4 or 5 mobs, you cast this into the pit of 4 or 5 mobs, pull one back up. These guys are slept, then you go ahead and you paralyze one of them. Paralysis. The paralysis lasts for 60 seconds. So one of them will be completely incapacitated for 60 seconds while you try to, figure out what the best route is that you should take at this point. Then you also have the option of Leg Sweep. Leg Sweep knocks down all enemies within 5 yards, stunning them for 5 seconds. This is a good talent. It's very good. The only reason why I'm choosing Song of Chi-Ji currently over the other is it is a 20-second mass CC. So I have more control if I get in trouble to try to get out of trouble without just having to turn tail and run. Ring of Peace, I would not be choosing Ring of Peace in this tier at all. This is more of a PvP type thing. It definitely expels people out away from you when you use this. But it's not as effective at crowd control. It's not stopping something from attacking you. So I use Song of Chi-Ji. That's my personal preference when I'm out running around doing quests and PvE content and the like. You can use Leg Sweep. I also do have Quaking Palm. Quaking Palm is the Pandaren racial. It is a sleep move that puts something in sleep, but it only puts it asleep for like 2.5-3 seconds. It's not too long. I actually now use Quaking Palm as an interrupt. much like we had Spear Hand Strike previously, but we no longer have that as a silence, so I use my Quaking Palm as an interrupt now. But yeah, for PvP purposes, if you're going to go PvP, Song of Chi-Ji only lasts, I think, for like 3 to 4 seconds, maybe 5 max, and then you get a legit 5-second stun out of Leg Sweep. What I would suggest to do is, if you are going to PvP, if you're in Arena, you need to look at your comp. You don't want to be heavy on stuns if you have a Rogue or a Druid or things like that. A Mage too, because I think a Mage has got stuns as well. Their Ice Block deal is considered a stun. Maybe you want to go to Song of Chi-Ji at that point. And the reason for that is so you don't force the diminishing returns, the DR, on that specific type of spell sooner than you want to, because then it's going to force them to use another, and you're going to run out, and then your CC abilities aren't going to really be working on par with each other. You're kind of working against themselves. If you have no stuns, Leg Sweep is a fantastic option. It is a guaranteed 5-second stun. DR will, the second time if they get stunned, it will DR, obviously. But then it can get you out of situations, especially if you're playing against a rogue or you're playing against a class that stuns. Warriors sometimes stun with their charge if they choose that talent. And I really haven't played 110 PvP. I played a little bit in Alpha. That's how long ago it was. And I know CCs were ridiculous. And that's my one complaint that I currently have with the game right now, is the fact that there are just too many classes that have too many forms of CC. I think that support classes should have a form of CC. I don't really think that I need as many CCs that I have. My paralysis works very, very well. In case you're not familiar, if you don't use paralysis, it basically is a sap type move that rogues would use. It's an incapacitate. It's 20-yard range. It's a 15-second cooldown, and it saps the target for 1 minute. But when you're in PvP, it saps the target, I believe, for like 4 to 5 seconds ish. I'd have to actually go in and try it out to find out the exact time. But so there you have it. That's the types of CCs that you can have and you can use as a Mistweaver. And it's just personal preference, really. And it's playing smart as well. If you're playing it in PvP, you want to make sure that, as I said, you're not going to make things harder on yourself and your team by increasing the DR, by choosing a same kind of CC that others don't have. Sleep is something that not a lot of classes have. I think one of the Warlock pets, I can't remember which one it is. I think the Succubus uses the Sap type move, the Incapacitate, and I believe it's like the Shiva with the swords who sleeps you, if I'm correct, if that's still a thing. But you can definitely just pay attention to what's going on and try to do the best that you possibly can do. It's not ideal. I mean, granted, Song of Chi-Ji is not the ideal spell to cast because of how slow it moves. People can move out of it. But if you cast it from behind, they can't see it coming. They don't see it coming until it's almost on top of them, probably. Because, see my field of vision? Unless I'm looking behind me, I can't really see. So, there's all that. My next video, I will be touching, hopefully getting into some PvP at 110, just to see kind of what it's like and how it's going, especially with all the new weapons and the new weapon abilities and things like that that are in PvP, and give you guys kind of a heads-up rundown on what's going in PvP, as well as report back to find out. I've heard a lot of people complaining that it's quite unfair of your artifact weapon power. Apparently, to accrue that in PvP like they promised so heartily when they announced everything for Legion, they were saying, well, you can PvP and never have to PvE, etc., etc. Apparently, for winning a BG, you only get like 50. And depending on what BG it is, it could be a long BG. You can go quest and spend the same amount of time getting your artifact weapon power from questing and get probably 40 times more, almost. Because if you get 100 for 2 BGs and a BG takes 30 to 40 minutes, that could be probably 8 to 10 quests, which half or more of those in Suramar are going to give you the points, and they're going to give you like 150 or 300 or more. So I'm actually going to look very, very deeply into this and find out what the disparaging rumors are about this and exactly what's going on, and kind of give you guys a heads up to find out if it's the truth, if we can actually PvP for our artifact weapon power, or, you know, do PvEers have an advantage, which I don't feel that's fair. If that's the case, I don't feel that PvE should have an advantage over PvP for any reason, especially since the tables are kind of even for everything. The slate's clean. So, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. If you have any kind of questions, place them down below in the comments. You can also email them to victorsanctum@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter @victorsanctum. If you personally have a question for me for something, you can hit me at RYCP1209 on Twitter. And I guess until next time, I will see you guys, and hope your mistweaving is going well, or if you're leveling anything else. So, see you later, guys. Have a good one.